And right now we are 2 minutes away from the end of the trading day. Romaine Bostick alongside Emily Greifeld taking you through to that closing bell with the global simulcast. It starts now. Massar and Tim Stenovec join us in the radio booth. Welcome to our audiences across all of our Bloomberg platforms, including our partnership with YouTube. On a decidedly soft day in a decidedly soft week, but Carol, think about where we were on Monday. Yeah. I know you weren't here, but hitting record highs, and it looked like for the large caps, and it looked like that was going to be—
Don't steal my thunder.
The lead.
I know.
Should I just stop now?
Yes. Because I've been thinking about you a lot with the move up that we've seen.
It's the Sudafed, Carol.
I'm in your head.
That's why she's been thinking about you.
Get out. No, small caps, right? I'm looking at what we are seeing, about a 2% gain for the week overall. You look at the S&P 500, not even close. It's down about 1/3 of 1%. We still have a few seconds to go, but look at that outperformance.
I've been obviously focused.
Is that what you wanted to say?
I was going to, well, I would have said it a little differently.
Well,
sure.
You would have been much more
Romaine.
eloquent.
Yeah. Tim?
I've been squarely focused on what's happening with Bitcoin this week because of that market structure bill, and surprised to see that it's not under more pressure as a result of questions about the future of this bill. Brian Armstrong over at Coinbase pulling his support. A lot of questions about the future of it, but still, Bitcoin's up close to, well, above $95,000 right now.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting, too. I mean, obviously, this is a bit of a negotiating tactic by Coinbase and Brian Armstrong, which, of course, had an outsized influence on the last presidential cycle with some of the donations that they rallied from the digital asset industry. That, of course, will be a big story going forward over the next few days. Just a reminder, next week, it's going to be a monster week here. We get several earnings. The president's in Davos, and we have a big Supreme Court opinion on the Fed governorship and quite a few other things, potential tariff ruling. All of this combining to keep the market maybe a bit in check here on this Friday afternoon. The Dow Jones Industrial Average is going to lose about 80 points, or 0.2%. The S&P 500 only losing about 5 points, but that's still going to be down less than 0.1% on the day. A similar move lower on a percentage basis for the NASDAQ Composite and the NASDAQ 100. But you have to talk about the Russell 2000 holding in the green once again, 11th straight session, outperforming the broader market. We have not seen that streak of outperformance by the Russell 2000 relative to the large caps since at least before I was born in the 1980s.
Wow.
I think the only person around who is not born yet is on your set.
Wait, that makes you, how old?
And it's not you, Romaine.
No.
Hey, I'm going to go back to the big caps just for a moment, because in today's trade, almost an even number of winners and losers, if I may say it that way. 227 names in the S&P 500 gaining in the Friday trade, Emily, 276 to the downside.
Yeah, and we take a look at the circle here. You only had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the major S&P sectors, 5 of the 11 in the green today, and the outsized move was actually in real estate, a 1.2% move for that group higher. And we should just point out the second best gainer in that area was industrials, and that was only half of those gains. Tech not doing anything on the day, healthcare in the red.
All right, guys, let's get to some of the individual gainers, if I may, in today's session. Got to talk about semiconductors again, some outperformance there in the trade. ASML holding, Morgan Stanley laying out its bullish case for why investors should buy the stock, saying in the most optimistic scenario, the stock has a 70% rally ahead as chipmakers ramp up spending to meet soaring demand for artificial intelligence. So you saw ASML up about 2% in the trade. And I got to mention semiconductors. They continue to be on a tear. They, as a group overall, most names in that index higher. The Philadelphia Semiconductor Index up more than 1% in today's session. All right, let's go to AST Space Mobile. Shares soaring in today's session. You saw that one up about 14%, up 19% at its highs intraday. But again, outperformance there. The satellite internet company was given prime contract position for the U.S. Missile Defense Agency's SHIELD program, something the president has talked about. It is connected, of course, to his Golden Dome effort. Stock up about 60% year to date, 17%, of the float is short. But again, some outperformance. Want to mention a bio.
What is the Golden Dome?
Well,
what?
you know. Yeah.
I don't know.
To protect in terms of missiles coming in.
Oh.
And this idea of like fighting back.
He knows.
I must have been off.
He knows. He's just being Romaine.
Why do you do this to me? Okay. Moving along.
I think they cut your mic, Romaine.
Immunity Bio, ticker is IBRX. That one up. Check it out, guys. Up almost 40% in today's session. It's a $5.2 billion market cap company extending its advance for an 11th straight session. It's a record streak. Company giving efficacy results from a clinical cancer trial for patients with a type of cancer that affects the lymphatic system. So really some outperformance there based on that trial. And I got to talk a little bit about the power sector. Talking about it all day. I'm sure you guys have as well today. President Trump moving to make tech giants pay for surging power costs. Analysts have been trying to figure out the winners and losers in here, and GE Vernova was certainly one, maker of natural gas turbines. Analysts seeing this as one of the winners, and you saw GE Vernova up more than 6% in today's session. Now to the losers. What?
Oh, she said losers and pointed right at me.
No,
that's
not-
okay. I'm glad you ended with GE Vernova because that's exactly where I want to start. We saw some stocks move lower as a result of this move from the White House. Constellation Energy Group, look at this. At the bottom of the S&P 500, down 9.8%. Worst performer. We've been talking about this all day. That move that caused GE Vernova shares to move higher caused some of the large power generation companies to move lower. Supply and demand here. If more power is available, if there is more supply, then prices could drop and, these companies would not benefit as a result. But Josh Saul on our program earlier reminding us this type of thing years out. Infrastructure takes a very long time to be built in the U.S., but still, this is the immediate share reaction that we saw. Also, the Mosaic company shares falling today. This after the company reported a significant decline in North American fertilizer demand in the fourth quarter of 2025. Phosphate sales volume fell at about 1.3 million tons. Shares falling today by about 4.5%. And finally, looking at DraftKings and Flutter Entertainment, the publicly traded companies in the sports betting industry. DraftKings falling 8%, Flutter, the parent company of FanDuel, down 6.3% today. This after weekly data from the New York State Gaming Commission showed that the revenue from online sports gambling fell during the NFL's wild card weekend. It typically attracts more bettors to games.
Yeah.
This decline comes at the same time the volume of sports wagers on competing prediction market platforms grows. You don't just bet on the new Fed Chair, Romaine.
Bet on the new Fed Chair.
On Polymarket.
Yeah, I don't do that.
You bet on NFL outcomes too, I
You're
guess.
betting on
You know
when
who I
Taylor's
always bet
going to
on?
get. How many people Taylor invites to her wedding? Is that what you're betting on?
You bet on how many times Romaine is going to interrupt Carol.
Oh,
I have no idea what
simulcast.
either one of you are talking about. Just root for the Bears
Taylor
this weekend.
Swift.
Taylor Swift. Okay, because you threw me off there. You're talking about a different
Emily,
Taylor.
thank
And I was like,
you
I don't
for
know.
being
I was
with
like-
it.
I was like, by the way,
The wedding of the year.
Yeah, the wedding of the year. Yes, thank you, T-Riggs. Yields. Can we get to yields here? They moved
Please,
higher. And that is
please.
significant here because we talk about a market that overall seems to think that through the course of this year, yields will move lower, but at least for right now, moving higher on the day and on the week. Carol.
oh, so where are we going?
We're going to college.
We're going to go to college. Well, maybe not so many people are going to be going to college. Great Bloomberg Big Take story that's on the terminal. And it's basically talking about what's going on in terms of the U.S. birth rate in the United States, leaving too many colleges with too few kids. And we've seen the birth rate plunge since the 1950s. We saw a little bit of a kick up during COVID or during the financial crisis, excuse me. But basically, we're seeing it shrink. And so you think about the implications. We've already seen a bunch of schools closing. And so this is going to be tough, certainly on the educational sector.
What I like about this story is it's a completely different take on what a declining birth rate in this country means. This is all about higher education because oftentimes we talk about this in the context of, okay, what does it mean for Social Security in the future? What does it mean for the economic growth, especially with the decline in immigration in the U.S., which has filled this the fact that Americans aren't having as many kids in recent years as they had, a few generations ago. But there are serious implications, not just for those things, but also for the higher education industry. It's kind of like K-shaped. You have the really good schools harder and harder to get into, and then fewer people wanting to go to the schools that aren't necessarily at the highest end.
This is a great story. I got two nitpicks. Is one, I wanted them to analyze a little bit more as to whether we just had too many colleges, universities to begin with, which I think was a big part of the problem. Also, the idea that there's a huge demographic of people opting not to go into colleges and universities and just go straight into the. Wow, sorry, Tim.
Oh. That's what happens sometimes.
Wow, they were like, we're done with you guys.
Was it something
Goodbye.
I said?
Going into the long weekend.
What
I
happened
love
there?
that. I don't know. That was cool.
Say goodbye, Carol.
Goodbye.